Action Comics 987. This, of course, is the first part of the Oz Effect story, which we've been waiting for. So, I mean, do we want to start with the identity of Mr. Oz and then talk about the actual story, or
Let's build to it
let's build
because
to it? Okay.
there's yeah.
Okay, so I'm
So,
kind of mixed on this issue.
you're
Just get that out
mixed.
of the way. Like I
I
like,
really enjoyed it.
I quite liked it.
yeah, I like the Oz stuff itself, and I do like the Superman stuff. The way it's portrayed, the dialogue. I like all of that stuff individually, but as a story, I'm not sure it comes together for me, like as a part of a story.
Actually, just I didn't tell you who did it first. Dan Jurgens writing, and I actually still have Rob Williams down from the last issue. That's my bad.
No.
But Dan Jurgens and Victor Bogdanovich on the art. Which, by the way, I actually thought, oh, this looks a lot like New Superman. That's because it's the artist who
Because it was.
we knew as New
Yeah.
Superman for a
Which
long time.
I didn't realize he has a very Capullo vibe until I read someone online say
Did-
that. And I was like,
See, you say that, but I don't know if it's just the fact that it's Glapian on inks.
that's what I was just gonna say. Is on my second read through, I realized Glapian's on inks, but I think it's the clean style, the way that he draws Superman. I really love Capullo Superman. I have since Endgame.
And that's it. I don't know
So-
how much of that is Bogdanovich or if it's Glapian just kind of cleaning it up in
The
the inks.
inking.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So the main story here is Mr. Oz is of course behind it. We see him. He's with Metallo. He's like pissed. Metallo's using kryptonite. Like using a part of his
Yeah.
planet against him. You'll never do that again. Like kind of the themes of who he is. But basically, he's watching all these monitors as he's been doing, and there's all these events that are all building up. We see Superman save this truck full of medication. Which he then delivers himself to this small village somewhere who's in need of medication.
That's the part of Superman's writing I really like. The idea that he's still Superman. He takes his time out of the day to deal with this. Was kind of a small issue in the sense that okay, it's just a truck.
Yeah, so you've got that. He saves this. Maggie Sawyer's there. She's explaining that if the water gets into the truck, it'll ruin the medication and blah blah blah.
Because she's getting on the cop for escalating where he didn't need to. He's like, yeah, but he was stealing the truck, and she's like, yeah, but in Metropolis we take care of each other. Like it's not, and I like that because she's worked in both Gotham and
that's
and
a good point.
Metropolis.
Um, So basically, there's all these events that, in some way, have been influenced by Oz. We don't really get to see how influenced, but we don't need to. It's just the idea that he's set all these events in motion,
Yep.
and it's a bunch of different things. The village that got the medication, there's some militia who look they're going to go in and like ruin it and steal it, and
So they
kill
can sell it
people.
on the black market.
There's a hunter
Yeah.
about to kill a rhino for its horn.
Just for the horn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some nut job who wants to kill some immigrants in the US because they've taken jobs. There's I'm sure I'm forgetting one, but like, it was a whole bunch of like just really evil things, like all these. And it's,
Yeah, and it was all humanity-based stuff. This is all stuff
That's the other
that
main
happens
point,
in
yeah.
the real world, and that's part of Oz's take is humanity is this pity group of beings that only care about themselves. And
Humanity is
Superman's-
kind of a scourge on the planet, isn't it?
Yeah, because right from the start of the issue, he sets up the idea that he's going to show Superman that this planet and these people don't deserve him for what he does. So it's building up and it's doing all that, and we see after he takes the medication, Superman goes back to the planet. John's there; he's like hanging out at the planet because their new apartment's getting ready or whatever.
Painted.
Yeah. And there's some stuff with Steve. He's like trying to like force them to take a jersey with his name on it.
To be
It's just
fair,
like,
he offers them free tickets.
But I like that Lombard's like, yeah, I can get you a vintage jersey. That's what all the kids like, right? Like he doesn't even know because he's so self-absorbed, and he's kind of what Oz is talking about, but in the most innocent way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's nice the way he's still being nice, but he's like, yeah, I'll get you tickets, I'll get you a jersey. Like I say, he's self-absorbed, but he's still giving the kid something.
It's all about him.
Yeah, and exactly, and I love Lombard when he's written like that.
Yeah.
He's this big lunkhead that covers sports because that's all he knows.
Yeah.
So, all this stuff basically happens at once. Oh, there's an oil tanker, and that's the other two things. There's an oil tanker where the captain and the crew are basically just drinking on the job because they don't care. So, we deserve a break, and of course they're going to crash the oil tanker. And then there's some evil businessman running a sweatshop for pennies. This is all the evil things that are happening all in the one go. And all happens. Superman, like, he goes to one of them. He just about saves the day there, but he gets to the tanker too late, and he does save the immigrants. Which, by the way, we should probably stop and talk about the controversy of this page from this week.
Yeah, because people are idiots and can't.
Because Fox News put out an article about this. Because
I didn't see this.
Did you not see this? Oh,
Yeah.
you're going to love to hear about this, Connor. Basically, they put an article complaining that in the new issue of Action Comics, Superman protects illegal immigrants from a patriotic US resident
Who was trying to gun them down.
Yes.
Let's not...
act of terrorism, right? So
you might not agree with their immigration status, okay? Personally, I don't believe human beings can be illegal, right? Unless it's a product of like science fiction, Frankenstein BS, okay? But like you can have your issues with people coming to this not in the best of ways.
Right.
That doesn't mean they deserve to be shot.
That's it. I get taking politics out of it. I get if you they're illegal. You want them to go through the system. Fair enough.
Shouldn't be murdered.
Right.
But don't shoot them.
Yes.
Like, that's something bad guys do in movies, and then you're gonna complain when Superman does the most Superman action of all, where he flies in front of a group of people and becomes a human shield, a Kryptonian shield, because he's not human. But I'm getting worked up.
Same difference. Here's the other thing. They actually this is one of I'm maybe paraphrasing because obviously I don't have it in front of me, but one of the really sarcastic lines. Do you remember when Superman stood for truth, justice, and the American way? And now he's protecting illegals. And I'm like, first of all, Superman is an immigrant to the entire planet. So shut up. Secondly,
and it were those principles that turned him into Superman.
And also, he is an illegal immigrant to America because he didn't have papers. He didn't get a visa. He just rocked up one day.
Doesn't have a visa for anywhere, really. But
yeah.
No. But
the point is, it was America.
Yeah, he still used what the Kents taught him to become the best of what America can offer. And that is, if you see people getting gunned down and you can stop no matter their status,
I can't believe anyone read this issue. Because the asshole with the gun is clearly the villain in this scene. It's not even a question.
It didn't help that it was very heavy-handed. I'm going to put this on art and Jurgens a little bit, because it was cartoonish. But it was cartoonish to prove the point. Because the dude's wearing a USA flag bandana as he's doing this. And he's doing this South Park, here, they stole our jobs. To the point, though, that right now in this country, this is something that's going around in the news. And it's just like, again, however you feel.
What I think happened? I think he was maybe... He had a late night drinking with Ben Percy. And he took some hints from him about being on the nose, about political events. And throw it in.
All this stuff's been going on in Green Arrow for months now, and no one says anything. The moment you inject it into Superman, where this is a character created to prop up the lower classes, right?
Well, that's it. It's because Superman is the image of America in many ways.
And again, I'm gonna put this on Frank Miller for making him in Dark Knight Returns, for making him the government stooge. And that's where a lot of people think. That's where a lot of people sign. That's where Superman's already.
I don't know. I think Superman's the colors of his suit are the American colors. He is America to all intents and purposes.
Yeah, I'm not putting any of this on the whole his portrayal in Dark Knight Returns. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I don't think if that never existed, I think the same idiots at Fox News would make the same article.
I just think it's just.
I don't know.
It's just moronic, isn't it?
It is.
The final point I want to make in this before we move on, I just want to say, to go back to that line, do you remember when he stood for truth, justice, and the American way? I just want to point out that famous image that everyone always brings up from a comic from like the 50s, where Superman's telling kids that to be American is to be inclusive of everyone. He's telling people not to be racist and so on. Yeah. And it's like, he was always this way. You're deluded if you think he was never the one protecting everyone.
And that's it. It's not necessarily an American to be against illegal immigration, because there is a point, there is a political argument for that, and that's not what this is about. This point of the story isn't about whether they're illegal or not. It's about don't gun down people.
It's that simple. It's that easy.
Yeah, this wasn't Superman intercepting the dude's phone call to the government, being like, "Hey, I think my employer is hiring immigrants that aren't legal here. maybe you guys should look at it. And Superman goes and crushes his phone. It's like, not on my watch.
Yeah, that'd be
Like,
different.
There's an argument to say, this guy should have reported them to the government, should have gone through the systems.
Well, that's his thing. We don't actually know if they are illegal. It's just his opinion. He could just be assuming that.
Right,
And that's a whole other thing. And the fact that they're working in, the company shutting down the plant to hire the immigrants because they'll work for cheaper, which is another political discussion. And that's why he lost his job. But he's blaming the immigrants for taking the job.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, if you have a problem with this, if you agree with anything this article says, and you say you're a Superman fan, you're not. You don't understand him. You don't understand the character. It's like people who are racist or homophobic who are really big X-Men fans. I don't get you.
Yeah.
How?
You should probably stop listening to this podcast, really.
Like,
if you really agree that Superman shouldn't have saved them and that guy should have gunned them down.
Yeah, because we see in this, that's why this sticks out too, is he couldn't stop a lot of the other stuff. He couldn't stop the oil tanker. He was too late.
I did notice the oil tanker was stag oil.
Stag oil, yeah.
Nice touch.
What? I'm not following the stag oil.
Oh no! It's like I said, it's just another big evil businessman often in Gotham and stuff. He's a foil for Bruce Wayne a lot of the time.
Okay.
Fair enough. To be fair,
so
the name sounds familiar.
This stands out. Yeah. This stands out because it's the one Superman could stop. It was the one that he was closest to.
And to be fair, it's the one he should have stuck, because it's the one, arguably the Village as well, but this was presumably closer because it was in the US, because the Village was in whatever country.
Exactly. And then the Village one leads to a bigger thing, because not only do the rebels come in and kill the Village because of the medicine he dropped off, but then that government that's fighting the war against the rebels starts firing on the Village too.
Yeah, because there's a survivor. There's one survivor who's still breathing, and he's like, "Oh, what happened? I'm going to get you to safety." And just as that moment hits, the military fired rockets into the town, and it kills her. I mean, he tries to shield her, but it doesn't work. It's all the flames kill her, and he's like, "You fired on your own people. Why?" It got dark as shit. Quite frankly, everything with this Village was dark as hell.
And the way that Bogdanovich draws Superman's expressions here, where he looks frustrated.
Oh, he's angry.
Like, why is
frustrated,
all this
horrified,
happening?
Angry.
Yeah. And he shows them all, and it's really great. And he doesn't even make his eyes red, which is, one of my go-to favorite things.
There's that great panel where, just before the last page, when he faces up with Oz in the fire and the smoke, and it does the shot in on his eyes, and he's just, you can see the irritation.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
No, that's cool. So that's of course he's why would you do this? And that's when Oz shows up, says because they're whatever evil. This is what they are. This is their nature. And he transports them to the Fortress of Solitude, where he's like, this is where he kind of drops his hints. He's like, I sent you to the wrong place. And he's like, wait, what? What do you mean by that? You can't possibly mean. And then final big page. I am Jor-El, basically.
Right. And you look behind him over his shoulder, and there's the statue of Jor-El.
Nice touch.
Holding things up.
Nice touch.
Good touch. So, we kind of saw this coming because DC kind of spoiled it a little with cover reveals.
Variant covers, did make this really obvious.
Yeah. That said, it didn't make it any less impactful.
No, that's true. I think this completely works. I said this a while ago, that we had a lot of guesses. This wasn't necessarily one of my favourite guesses, but I said it wouldn't bother me because there's a lot of dramatic possibilities from it.
Let's say it's one of those where I don't love it necessarily, but it makes sense. I'm willing to see where the story goes. I'm okay with it. I'm not opposed to it.
And I'm honestly not ruling out that this is actually going to have a swerve.
Now, here's my take on this, and this is why I read it twice. So when he goes, we saw him deal with Lex last time, right?
Yeah.
And he kind of disassembles him and kind of reads him the riot act on, you're not a hero, you'll always just be Lex Luthor. And then we saw the heat vision, and I was like, oh, okay, so he's Kryptonian or something equivalent.
Yeah.
So here, the first time we see him, he's with Metallo, and he's removing the kryptonite.
And he fine, yeah.
And he says his planet, right? Not our planet. Now, that could be that they're just holding it, right? Because they don't want to give anything away too soon in the issue. I've heard other people say that it's because he don't want to give it away to Metallo, but he's depowering Metallo as it is. So what would it matter? if he tipped his hand
Yeah,
there.
for me, it was the way that there's no reaction to the kryptonite.
Yeah, he doesn't even flinch. He doesn't
exactly.
even. Yeah.
And again, like you say, it could be that he's covering. They're playing it like DC are playing it close to the chest. They want to hold the reveal, so they're like, okay, let's just have him, pretend he can just.
But it feels like
resist
a hint.
and
It
hold
feels
off.
like he's not really. At the very least, he's maybe a Kryptonian from another universe, and because it's not a different universe.
Yeah, because there's precedence for this, like in Infinite Crisis, where Earth 1 kryptonite didn't affect Earth 2 Superman. Right? That's why he was so powerful.
Nice pull.
And yeah. So, and same with Prime, right? And Superboy Prime, nothing. That's why he was so powerful and so unstoppable. Is nothing on this planet could stop him until Connor Kent and him duked it out at the Crisis Tower.
That's not how I remember. I just remember him killing over and dying at one point.
Yeah, okay, of course. Make a joke. So this makes me think that we know that this comes into Doomsday Clock. We know that that's playing with the Watchmen and their whole dark take on the real world, right? Everything's what's the word I'm looking for? Pessimistic, right? Like superheroes would actually ruin the Earth, not make it a better place. It kind of makes me think this might be Jor-El Prime, and that
I can see
something's got lost because he was sent to our Earth, and that's where Watchmen was supposed to happen. And this is him trying to prevent that from happening. And so even though he calls Clark at the end his son and I sent you, I think that's just more of in every single universe, Krypton explodes.
Yeah,
right?
he has done that, but this isn't actually necessarily his Clark, or at least
his exactly.
And maybe does he know he's not in his own universe if he isn't?
Right,
it's possible.
And that's it. Maybe, and that's why he's out of time, and that's why Manhattan can't really affect him.
Matt's kind of playing by Doctor Who rules of, there's a fixed point in time, which is Krypton explodes is a fixed point. It can't be changed regardless. It always happens.
Well, that's also from Booster Gold is time's like concrete. Once something happens, it's a key point, like Barbara Gordon ending up in the wheelchair. He tries to go back Booster numerous times to stop the Joker and gets beat every time. And Rip Hunter explains to him, it's like, that's set in concrete.
I just want to point out that, of course, Matt put that into Booster Gold terms.
Of course he did, yeah.
Doctor
Who
Who
it's Dan Jurgens, man. Like, come on. So this guy knows time travel because of Booster and Rip Hunter and whatnot. He also knows Superman. This is a guy that killed Superman. For Christ's sakes.
Fair.
So there's so much at play here. And at first I was like, Jor-El. We went with like the least cool of our guesses. But the more I look into it and try to pick it apart, the more I like it. And there's so much more to dig into here. I can't wait for 2 weeks from now.
I like it. I like that his whole thing is to try and proving that humanity is not worth it, and he set up all these things. Because as much as he's sort of influenced this so it all happens at the one time, none of the events on their own are actually, unbelievable. They're all things that happen sometimes.
But this is where my problem kind of comes from with the issue. Is like I like everything that Oz does, everything that Oz says. I like the Superman, dealing with the medicine and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But as a part of it, just as a story beat, other than the reveal and like the character stuff, I don't think this does much for plot. This issue, there's kind of nothing to it.
The one thing I would change is I would maybe one of those disasters not happen because Jor-El Oz makes it that it's a choice. He just presented them with a choice. They made the choice to do bad things. And that's why they're not worthy. But I would have liked to see just maybe one of those, like the guy choosing not to shoot the Rhino, right? Like, or...
Yeah, or maybe even if he introduced another couple on the monitor that don't happen. And that would be like
even if we don't really see them in the plot, we at least see them that humanity isn't all awful.
Which, I mean, that could still be revealed, I suppose, at some point, that there was actually a much more... Like, there was more set up that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because Superman wouldn't even hear about them, would he? Like,
no.
Yeah, they wouldn't have.
Because they didn't need him. Yeah. And that's what I want Superman on the next issue to look at him and go, no, you're wrong. Look at all the good mankind's capable of. Like, look at all the things they don't respond to. I'm there as a catch-all, not as a catch-all, but as an assist.
I think the shock of Jor-El is going to, overtake that sort of debate at first. And then you know,
Okay, not the next issue, but future
yeah,
issues.
but he'll get pushed, and he'll keep pushing his agenda on him, and eventually Superman obviously will, you know, maybe he'll doubt more than he's ever doubted before because it's coming from Jor-El. But obviously, ultimately, we expect Superman to be like, no, humanity is worth saving.
Yeah.
It's time, you know.
And this puts up a battle between the Kents and the L's, you know, because this is biological father, but like he really didn't have any hand in raising him.
Yeah, it raises nature versus nurture, doesn't it?
Yeah,
exactly. And I like a lot that this is presenting, and I'm glad it's happening in the pages of Superman. Like this is the type of big reveal kind of I've been wanting for a while. That feels it's not just, you know, as much as I've liked like the Zod arc and some of the other stuff that's happened in action, this is finally the one that has some meat to it.
I do think action's been kind of flagging for a little while.
Yeah.
Like I've kind of enjoyed it still. Like you say, like the Zod art was fun, but it's been lacking something that makes it go, okay, this is its purpose in Rebirth.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I've been having fun. I've had I mean, honestly, recently it's been better than Superman.
Well, no, it has, but at least Superman, even when it wasn't as good, I get its purpose is to showcase John.
And the family.
Yeah.
Like,
whereas
this is Superman reacting to having a son.
Action has just kind of been, okay, it's a Superman story. Which has
And
been
they're
good, enjoyable, but it hasn't had a purpose.
But I think that is the purpose, though. Like he's fighting villains like Zod and Metallo, and these characters are popping up. That, you know, because you want a book that's bringing up all these.
Lex
and him and Lex,
guys. That was good too, but I would never say it was like it didn't have the meat to it. I feel like this does.
Oh sure, yeah. Obviously, Oz Effect was always going to be the most.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely the biggest thing it's done since the
first one.
Probably the Rebirth issue.
Reborn, arguably.
Yeah, okay, Reborn. I'm kind of forgetting that because it was a crossover.
Yeah, but you know,
so it wasn't entirely in this book.
But yeah, but that I mean, so
it was all built up in this book, though. All the fake Clark.
So if this is regular Jor-El, how did he keep Mxyzptlk there? Like, was he just that?
No, it's
smarter?
a good question. Why is Jor-El that powerful?
Yeah, this opens a whole new thing. And with Tim, why is he keeping Tim there? Because he knows Tim would figure things out.
Yeah,
he sees a lot of himself in Tim.
At that point, it becomes less a question of how is he keeping them there, but why? How does he know that he needs to keep Tim off the table?
Right.
Well, yeah, but I think the why is he so powerful is a very good question, which then begs, like, okay, is he just a regular Jor-El? Surely there's more to it. If it is this Jor-El from this universe, then he must have went through something that gave him even more power than Superman has. You know, so I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure we'll get there.